What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp extension tutorial for you. So today we're going to use two of my favorite extensions and just kind of play around with them and see what we can make. So this week we're going to use Memory Copy and FredoScale. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download those two extensions, and I'll link to those in the notes below. FredoScale, obviously we've done a bunch with, usually with the Radial Bend, meaning we're bending things along a radius or along an arc. And then Memory Copy is an extension that allows you to repeat operations over and over, allowing you to create really cool patterns and that sort of thing with a minimum amount of work. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come in here and we're going to just draw a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch rectangle. So tap the rectangle, or tap the R key to activate the rectangle tool, and then tap the left arrow key to lock this to the green axis. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to type in 0.25, 0.25. And that'll draw your little rectangle in here. And all you're going to do is you're just going to extrude that. And we'll go ahead and make it, we'll call it a 1/2 inch long for right now. And then you're going to right click on that and you're going to make that a component. And we can just call that box. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this component, and remember it needs to be a component. That's important for Memory Copy to work properly. Alright, so what you're going to do once you've created this box is you're going to make a copy using the move tool. So just move a copy right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move this, or we're going to adjust this box in two ways. First of all, we're going to rotate this box until the angle down below is 15 degrees more than whatever your base angle was. So in this case, SketchUp started me off at 90 degrees, so I just moved it over to 105. That means it adjusted 15 degrees. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to scale your object so that it gets wider. And so it's important that you're not inside this box, because if you go inside this box and scale your object, both objects are going to change, and you don't want to do that. What you want to do instead is just click on the outside of the box so that you can't actually select any of the faces. That means you're editing the component kind of outside the component. So if you go inside the component, then both of them are going to change and you won't be able to get what you want. So click once on the box and then activate the scale tool. And go ahead and scale this to about 1.3. And hold the control key while you're doing this to scale it about the center so that it's getting wider. And so now we're going to come in here and we're going to run the Memory Copy extension. And so what you're going to do is you're going to click on this first box, you're going to right click it, and you're going to select this Play It Again option. And then you're just going to click on this next box a bunch of different times. So you can see how as I do this, SketchUp comes in here and it makes a whole bunch of different copies of that object, and it applies the same rotation and scale to them each time. So, and what you want to do is you want to do this until you've gotten about one full rotation. So now what we're going to do is, I think I stopped a bit early, so I'm just going to come up here, I'm going to select this one, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to click Play It Again, click on this top one here, just to finalize my rotation. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this object, we're going to make a copy of it with the Move tool. So select the whole thing, use the Move tool, click on this corner and tap the Control key to activate copy mode. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to use the Scale tool to flip it. So activate the Scale tool and then click on this little bottom piece, and you can hold the Control key to flip this uniformly. And you can see how that moves, that flips my object in place so that it's flipped 180 degrees from what it was. And you'll note though that right now if you do that, your spiral isn't going to continue naturally. So what you need to do is you need to flip it this way as well. That way this will come in here and this spiral will continue, and you can probably delete out this bottom object and then just select this object and move it down. And you can hold the shift key to kind of lock it to that axis, but move it down until this sits back on this face. So you can see how now this curve, or this spiral, continues kind of naturally. So now what you've got is you've got this kind of continually spinning, scaling object. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to scale it down, because I don't like how tall some of those blocks look. So I'm just going to scale it down maybe to 3/4 of what it was, just to make these top objects a little shorter. And then what you can do from here is there's a few different things you can do. Like you can make a few copies of it in a row. So if I was to type in something like ×4, then I could make 4 copies of this in a row, just to make kind of a longer spiraling shape. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select this whole thing, and I'm going to use the Radial Bend option of FredoScale to come in here and kind of bend this along an arc. And I'm actually going to get rid of one of these and just make it 3 instead of 4. So I'm just going to come in here and I'll delete this extra stuff out. So now this is kind of spiraling through 3 different times. So, and you can get creative with memory copy on how this looks exactly. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to activate Radial Bend, which is this end option right here. And we're going to bend this along the red plane. So tap the right arrow key on your keyboard to lock this tool to the red plane. You can see how this is locking to different planes depending on which arrow key I tap. Well, I'm tapping the right key. And then I'm just going to set my base point at this bottom point here. I'm going to set my second point at the midpoint right here. And then it's going to ask for a target point. That's asking for where you want the end point to be for where you're bending. So I'm just going to click on that point one more time. And now you can see when I move my mouse, it's giving me kind of this preview of what this would look like when it's bent. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in 180 degrees and I'm going to hit the enter key. And what that's going to do is that's going to bend this along this arc. So now I've got this kind of cool bending arcing shape. Well, now I'm going to make a copy of this. Using the move tool. So same thing, select it, right click on it, select it, activate the move tool with the M key, and then click and move this, and tap the control key to activate copy mode. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to flip this with the scale tool. And then now I can do 2 different things. I can either bring this back here. Well, either way, I'm going to have to bring this back here. I can either bring this back here and kind of merge these ends and make this a complete circle. Or what I can do is I can use the rotate tool and rotate this object out. We'll call it 15 degrees again. And then I can copy the whole thing with the move tool again to create a continually spiraling type object. So I can move that whole thing once, then I can type in ×5 and hit the enter key. And that'll create 5 copies along this same direction. And you can adjust how tight this spiral is by adjusting the number of degrees you rotate that object. So remember how I came in here, and one good thing to do probably that I didn't do is put these in a group. So you can right click on this and make it a group. You can select this whole thing and you can make it a group. You could also come in here and make it a component and do some interesting things with it like that. So there's a lot of different options for what you can do in here, but we're just going to come in here. And instead of doing that 15 degrees, let's say we wanted to do, we can call it 20 degrees. Or actually, let's make it 30 degrees. So what that'll do is that'll kind of open up our spiral a little bit and make it kind of a bigger, more pronounced type spiral. The issue with that is what this is going to do is it's not going to quite line up the same way. So you might have to come in here and kind of place this. So it might not quite sit in here 100% perfect. So what I'm saying is when you move this across, it's not going to sit exactly right So I'll use the midpoint of this, and I'll just kind of line that up with this corner point. And then I'll type in ×5. And you can see how now my spiral is a little more, a little wider. So it continues along a slightly different path. So you can kind of adjust the way that that works by placing or by adjusting the number of degrees in your rotation. So that's where we're going to end today's video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Is this something that you'd like to play around with? Was there something you'd like to see different? I just love having that SketchUp conversation with you guys. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, please consider visiting my Support Me page on my website. That's TheSketchUpEssentials.com/support. That's got everything from links to some extensions you can purchase that'll help support the show to links to my Patreon page. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.